A Rand Paul interview from 2013 is receiving new scrutiny because of a particular quote about Rand Paul's views on gay rights that has now been spread around the internet. Here is a small segment of that 2013 interview.
I'm for rights for individuals, but I'm not for judging individuals based on their behavior. Really, that's never been any part of, I don't think I've ever used the word gay rights, because I really don't believe in rights based on your behavior.
Now, of course, that's a little bit problematic because people have pointed out that we have many rights based on behavior, like the right to speech. That's a behavior. It's not, we're not born saying things that need to be protected. It's a thing that we choose to do. Right to religion. Okay, that's a behavior that you're saying, I believe in this ideology. I'm going to act based on that. Assembly. Oh,
press.
A lot of the Bill of Rights.
You're a journalist. You have to go into that, and then you have those rights. I would argue Second Amendment rights. Actually, it specifically says it's based on behavior. It says you have to be part of a well-regulated militia. Now, conveniently, they've forgotten about that part, but almost all of the rights that we have in the Bill of Rights are about behavior. He supposedly has read that document. It's not that long.
I like the no true Scotsman fallacy that they immediately threw out, his spokespeople did, when they said, no one believes in the Constitution more than Rand Paul. That's it.
Clearly.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. then it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Well, then obviously he couldn't have meant to say that we don't have any rights based on action, because no one believes the Constitution more than Rand Paul. No one.
Checked. It's on Wikipedia. They also say what he is saying in this video is that he does not classify rights based on behavior, but rather recognizes rights for all as our Constitution defines it. Well, then that's actually convenient, because that is exactly what we're advocating for. We are advocating for both straight people and gay people to have the same right. You're specifically saying they should not have that right because they're gay. So you apparently don't support rights based on behavior, but you certainly support taking away those rights based on behavior.
And all of those are constitutional rights. But luckily, I know Rand Paul is going to be on our side, because no one loves the Constitution more than Rand Paul.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Now, why don't we jump forward to the actual discrimination based on behavior that he seems to be discounting. Reports have shown gay people are the victims of persistent discrimination, perhaps most notably in the workplace, as this Williams Institute report found, not because of any behavior they have engaged in, but for being gay or being perceived as gay. Of the 5,928 hate crimes reported by the FBI in December 2014, over 20% were against people for their sexual orientation, overwhelmingly in public places including streets, sidewalks, stores, schools, and public transit, where victims are unlikely to be engaged in homosexual behavior. Now, he doesn't see that, apparently doesn't think about that much, so I think he should be a little bit more careful with his language about how rights should be doled out and protected.
You know, like the people in Indiana who are now pretending to be the victims. Like, why are you, discriminating against us? No, this is real. There are attacks against gay people for being gay, right? Not for doing something gay, but for being gay.
Yeah.
And so now when you pretend that you're the victims, when we're actually trying to protect their rights, it's disingenuous and a little repulsive.
Yeah.
But I want to say one last thing about Rand Paul's comments back in March, because I don't know why the second half of his comments aren't getting more attention. Maybe because so many people unfortunately agree with him, but he said he thinks same-sex marriage, quote, offends myself and a lot of people. Okay, that's, to me, is like you're saying, like, I'm offended by your existence.
Yeah.
It's like...
It makes you question the sort of person you are.
By the way, okay, so a lot of these same conservatives, go back 30, 40 years, sometimes not so much, would have been against biracial marriages, interracial marriages, right? And they would say that's behavior. You might have been born black, but you didn't have to marry a white person.
Yeah.
That's a choice you made. That's a behavior you made. And they would have said that interracial marriage offends me. And they would have said, what? But you're offending my views, right? No, but you see, you're the one discriminating, so you don't get to cry about being offended. And then, but okay, so a lot of people feel that way. But again, last week, Paul argued the same-sex marriage results form a, quote, moral crisis that will require another great awakening, with tent revivals of thousands of people saying, reform or see what's going to happen if we don't reform. To me, that's much worse. I think that's the worst of all. That's almost an implicit threat. They're like, what? No, we would never threaten gay people. If you don't reform, though, there will be a great awakening implied against you.
I don't want to be anywhere near that tent. That sounds like a terrible thing. We've had big assemblies of people like that in the past. I love that. I mean, I understand that simply being gay also probably offends him and a lot of other people. but that specifically it's the marriage that offends them. That you say that it's disgusting and revolting to you because you've tried to portray these people as living in sin and being about fornication and random sex and spreading disease and all this stuff. But it's not just that that offends you. It's when they try to be as legitimate and public with their love as you are. It's when they try to be everything that you've portrayed them, everything that you haven't portrayed them as being, that's what actually offends you. That's so intensely hypocritical. And it's when stuff like this comes up that I have to be reminded that Rand Paul is not the man that he sells himself as. Because you can be that sort of intellectual, philosophically driven libertarian. You can be that. But when you try to combine that with this dogmatic approach to making modern day society fall in line with your religion, it never makes any sense. And I understand that he's probably going to come out and say, well, look, I was just talking with a couple of people, and so sometimes you don't express things the clearest way ever. Well, then a way to get around that is to not believe crazy, ridiculous things about the world. And then you don't have to worry about the way you express them because the actual belief will make sense. Your beliefs don't make any sense. That's why your quotes about them don't make any sense either.
I'll go slightly further and say, you don't get to call yourself a libertarian if you want to judge how other people live and take away their freedom, their liberty, their rights. You can call yourself other things. You can call yourself a Republican, no question. You can call yourself conservative, a traditionalist, pro-establishment. You can call yourself a lot of things. But you can't call yourself a libertarian and say, no, I'm going to tell you how to live. That's the exact opposite of a libertarian.